So people have this conception that sensations, pain, or emotions are really negative, but at the end of the day, they're keeping you alive. So it's shifting the perspective about what pain really is and emotions and sensations.
You are your own greatest ally or enemy. Awaken the warrior within you. Take charge of your inner kingdom. Welcome to the Warrior Growth Academy podcast.
Welcome to the Warrior Growth Academy podcast, where we build our mental strength in order to not only survive, but to thrive in this life. At the core basis of our journey as a human being, we need to understand who we are. And our incredible guest today, Dr. Stephany El-Chakieh, made it her mission as a scientist to understand this concept. Steph, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. First, tell me a little bit of your journey that got you where you are today. What made you, through personal experiences and professional experiences, what made you interested in understanding humans from different perspectives and working in this field?
Where do I start? So I'm a pharmacist by trade, so I've studied pharmacy, worked in 17 hospitals, did a bunch of stuff. And at some point in my career and in my personal life, I was seeing some challenges from a health perspective. So things not working out, medication not working out, et cetera, which led me to dive into research. I'm like, there must be another way. There must be something else that we're not offered, et cetera. And that led me to do more research and dive into the human, the concept of the human, more biology inside. And I understood that there's the human being, the inside, but there's also human connections and how that human interacts with other humans and how that could impact life in general.
What is one realization that you learned in the past years? There's probably 150, but one like that blew your mind or that made you even more dig deeper.
Dig deeper, or maybe I would say something that I realized that changed a bit of my perspective is that we're all the same, but we're also all different.
Okay.
So it's paradoxal, but it's the understanding that we're all humans at the end of the day. We're all born the same way. We're all going to die the same way. We all come from the same place. We all have similar things. But at the end of the day, we're all also different from our nutrients, our environments, our family, our upbringing. So it's this concept overlap that kind of blew my mind a little bit once I tapped into it.
Interesting. Okay, so how can someone understand better who they are? What is the process?
You gotta watch the video on emotions. I think that's where it starts. It's first of all, connecting with your senses. I think we're very disconnected from our senses, often so. We tend to rationalize or we tend to invalidate when we sense something. We have an emotion, we're triggered, we're not feeling good, we feel depressed, we're tired, we're gonna think that something's wrong with us. So I shift the perspective and say, maybe that's the first step to getting deeper to who you are and understanding who you are. So getting connected to your senses, what you feel, your emotions, your sensations, and then dive deeper to have a better understanding and eventually being able to transform it and manage it and regulate it.
How do you get connected to what you're feeling?
Get into your body, and it's a practice. It's a practice of really understanding emotions. First of all, I would say you got to take off the judgment component. So understanding that feelings are part of being human. Without feelings, you would die. So literally, there's actually studies about this. There's kids that were born with a genetic dysfunction where they couldn't feel pain and they couldn't feel things, and they died very early on because you can't feel that you're biting your tongue. You can't feel that you're putting your hand on fire. So people have this conception that sensations, pain, or emotions are really negative, but at the end of the day, they're keeping you alive. So it's shifting the perspective about what pain really is and emotions and sensations with practice. So first of all, take off the judgment, and then practice feeling things and pause when you feel it, get aware of it. Do different activities, get into your body, exercise, and just moving, but being aware of all the sensations that are happening within at the same time.
Okay. So if someone, because I think you're working also with individual clients.
Correct. I don't do this a lot, but I do it because I get referrals mainly.
Okay. So someone comes to you with, a sense of not feeling well, right? Probably either certain symptoms or sicknesses. What is the process you take them through in order for them not only to understand themselves better, but also to feel better?
I always start with the symptoms. So understanding what's going on. Usually they're going to come and say, I feel tired. Okay, cool. And then I dive. I dive in the questionnaire that I kind of built within the years by practice speaking with people, doing a lot of research. So I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions. Are you feeling that you're sweating more than usual? Are you dreaming? Are you this? Are you that? And really going through all the body, all the different spheres of the body to understand what's happening really. And sometimes they react in a way like, how do you know? How do you know I'm doing this? How do you know that I'm not? So they understand that I'm maybe tapping into something. I always start with the physical, the physiological, the biochemical, because it's always easier after. Because once you're imbalanced, once you're not eating well, you feel all sluggish, your brain is not clear. It's like if you put a cloud on it. So once you clarify this, you go with different nutrients, you change your diet, you adapt different supplements, pros and cons, like you really work on this, adapt it with your medication, et cetera, et cetera. And then usually it goes pretty fast to feel better. Once you tap into the right nutrient deficiency or excess or imbalance, usually it works pretty fast. So I've had patients feel better within 24 to 72 hours. Sometimes it took a week. And if it takes too long, we're not tapping into the right thing. So that's step one, where the biochemical is addressed. And then we start exploring different mindset, different identity patterns or different challenges, and dive deeper into getting them to know themselves mainly.
Okay. So let's say you go from not feeling at your best to feeling better. What are the stages or steps in order to feel amazing and like higher, right?
That's my ultimate goal for people because I've personally reached it. It's a state of fulfillment. It's a state of being almost ecstatic on a regular basis. So once you tap into that, it's so cool that you want to share it with people. So you go step by step, but the deeper you get to understand yourself, the deeper you get to take off these conditionings that you have, how you have to behave in society, who told you that this is the way that you should be? Is that really what you want? Do your desires really come from you? How do you know that they're yours, not someone else's? What are you doing? So I really question a lot of the preconceived ideas that people have about their lives, because often I can pick up on people's misalignments. They're going to tell me something, but they're doing something else. They're not aware of it. I pick up on it, and I help them. Like someone who would say they don't want children, but they really value family. Or someone that says, I'll give you other examples. I don't have any that comes to mind right now. It's just the first one that comes. Or someone that says they want to lose weight, but they're not moving. Or like those little contradictions that I look for. So is training the only way? Now you could explore different things, but I explore the blockage between the behavior and the desired outcome by understanding if the desired outcome is really aligned with them, and what's the blockage between the behavior and the outcome. I don't know if you follow. Yeah. So I dissect a little bit. Sometimes it is aligned, and sometimes it's justified that they don't want or they want, but I make them be sure of it, so it makes them feel more aligned and they see more clear. They know where they're going. Because often there's this state that people are not necessarily, they feel like they don't know where they're going, they don't know who they are, they don't know. I get that a lot. Usually it's associated with stress or mental distress, et cetera, et cetera. So I help them just realign a little bit and gain that confidence in who they are.
What are the blockages or pre-created programs or whatever we call them that you see the most often?
The fear of judgment is often from others, but what I picked up on is that the fear of judgment is often a fear of losing something or losing someone. And it's the judgment that people fear the most are the ones that from close people. So it's often the voice of someone close to them that they replicate or project on other people. And so that's something I kind of understood, because I was speaking with someone who's a executive in a company, and he wanted to do something so not associated with his work. He just wanted to create music. And he's like, but I'm scared. I'm like, well, stop a second. You're scared of who? I'm like, someone popped in your head. And he looks at me and he like eyes. I'm like, don't tell me who it is. I don't care. But that's the relationship you have to work on. So that's where that's healing or understanding or realizing boundaries like that. You know the interaction, but there's a relationship that is blocking you from because you're scared of an outcome by doing something. So I help them navigate a little bit through that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I dive deep.
Dive deep. How would you explain, or is there kind of even an explanation to your
Approach?
approach?
I think it's identity mainly that if it's defining the concept of self and understanding, because all of those come from the self, desires, values, preconceived beliefs, the conditionings, those are not part of self. So it's like taking away what's not and building what you want and the self. So it's a lot about identity and mindset also, because mindset at a certain point, when you when you take a belief that is conditioned, it's not necessarily yours. So again, it goes again with the concept of identity.
So it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's a lot of psychology, technically.
I call it more of a coaching, because I'm not legally allowed either to, and it's not really psychology, because I give them, well, no, I wouldn't consider it psychology. It's more coaching.
Okay.
So helping them align with who they are.
But through being in the field and observing.
Because I'm not someone who's going to say, oh, depression, that's what you should do and how to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different ways in psychology that, like, there's cognitive behavioral therapy, there's all of those things. Those are not, I don't practice that. It's not the way I go with. I'm more into diving and self-exploration and coaching.
What are some of, if not the biggest challenge you had to fight through to get to that stage of bliss and fulfillment?
Myself?
But
I think,
like in one sense.
I think it's stop listening to other people and really align who I am with what I want. But even that is like, I don't even know if that answers what you're asking me. But I just see identity as an ongoing journey. So it's not something you just have, it's something that evolves. So different challenges of my life, I mean, pain always leads to transformation. So different detours of life leads to that.
What was the biggest detour?
One, I think I've been like 360. I mean, I'll give you one because it's aligned with my work. So once the system that I've worked in, that I've studied in, everything that I've known, so as a pharmacist, as a doctor of pharmacy, master's degree and all of that, fails you, it's kind of hard. It's harsh because that's the only thing you know. So you become in a state of, not confusion, but it's like there's nothing, you don't know what else could exist. So there's a chaos, there's a cognitive dissonance, like a conflict, like there must be another way. And that whole search of understanding and realizing that maybe it's not the best way for everyone, why aren't there other options, why don't we complement with other things, is there a better way to help people with their health? So this was a very challenging, because it's like, I'm almost destroying everything that I've learned for the past 6 years, plus 10 years of experience, plus. So it feels like a complete destruction. But at the same time, I've gained peace with this, where it's like, I don't think it all goes away, because it helped me with my research. Without this, I wouldn't be able to do the research that I do. So, but the pain of that shift is quite challenging.
How did you get through it?
I think by doing more research, and I started vocalizing it at some point, but the more I vocalized it either to friends or to other people, the more I realized that I wasn't alone. So that helped me feel a sense of connection, in a sense that I'm not going crazy. basically. Because at some point you feel like you're going crazy. You think like you're the only one who sees this. You're not sure what's going on. And once you start connecting with other people who are feeling the exact same, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not so crazy after all. Maybe a little bit, but...
But what if, let's say, in someone's journey, what they are realizing in the people that they share that with, it's not resonating? You know what I mean? Like, is it...
Can you repeat what...
Comparing, because you said that you had some realizations, and then when you shared, you had a confirmation of like of those observations. Correct. Or changes of opinions. But it's possible that someone is in an environment, the circle around them, the people will not support. So is like, what would someone do in that case when you feel you are going crazy, or you are the only one who thinks, you know, you should live life better, but the people around you are like, yo, no, it's cool, get in the rat race. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it gives me goosebumps because when I wrote my third book, there's a guy who reached out to me because my third book is about questioning a bit of the concept of mental health. He reached out to me, and he's a pharmacist who studied in my year of school. He was hospitalized because people thought he was crazy.
Oh.
Because he was thinking the way that I was. So he passed away.
Wow.
He was very young. He passed away recently. So it's not as easy as people think. He reached out to have a conversation, and I think I gave him a voice. I did an Instagram live back then to kind of share what he felt, and without any judgment.
Wow. Not easy.
No.
So now touching mental health, how do we strengthen mental health?
How do we strengthen? I think what you're doing is awesome. So I think you're bringing new options to people. You're helping people have alternatives. And I think that's what people should look for in finding whatever works best for them. I don't think there's a one solution, and that's why I don't like the strict, typical guidelines and stuff like that. I like to offer people some freedom of choice and some options, alternatives, complementary, add it, or try different things to see what works for you. Again, we're all the same, but we're all different, so.
So what are the options?
I mean, it's different. You could go from taking a walk to working on your diet, to manage your emotions, to do some yoga, breath work. The options are infinite. And I think what we're lacking is more direction and more guidance towards these types of solutions that are available. We're seeing it a little bit on social media, but a lot of people are unaware of it. And I think bringing that to awareness and increasing the mainstream, or making it more mainstream, is something that is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know if you can force making something mainstream. I think it just became...
Correct.
With, for whatever reason, it became more mainstream and more present on social media. But for sure, making it more accessible, which is one of the missions of Warrior Growth Academy, and bringing different types of solutions. Putting myself in the shoes of someone, who feels lost, and it can be a mix of, mental health issues, but also identity, completely lost. What are some of the first steps someone can take in order to at least have a first step, and then figure out what works best for them? But, being kind of quote unquote lost in the beginning, there has to be at least a first step to take.
I always start with diet again. Like cleaning what you put in. It's like the gas of a car. You put gas for your car to drive. If there's no more gas, then for sure everything's going to be foggy in the first place. It's just the easiest, in my opinion, and maybe other people find other stuff easier. I just find it's easier to think clearer when your brain is functioning properly. And to function properly, your brain needs nutrients. And then finding the right nutrients and avoiding all of these processed foods and selecting proper food that work for you. After that, there's other steps that could be taken. But I would definitely start with this, or start moving a little bit as well. That helps in so many ways.
Okay. you touched upon, well, you made a whole class on emotions, on emotional intelligence. What are emotions? And I know you've mentioned that they make us alive and they help us stay alive. But, you know, in a regular day-to-day life, we feel some anger, we feel some jealousy, we feel some joy. So, like, how does this function? Like, why are they there? How do we also manage them better when they come up and we don't want them? How does it work?
We never like emotions all the time. We like the highs, but we don't like the lows.
Yeah.
I think it's building a relationship with both. But emotions are sensations that the body feels when there's triggers or events that happen. Sometimes the events are under our control. Sometimes the events are not under our control. But emotions often stem from something deeper. So again, I always touch the nutrient component because nutrient imbalances could lead to different state of emotion, but it could be an unmet need. It could be a trigger where you touch a pain point of yours, which by understanding your emotion and where it leads to understanding a little bit more of yourself. So that's where emotions stem from mainly. And two people are not going to feel the same way with the same event because they don't have the same background, wounds, or pains. So.
Okay. If, for example, someone who's very emotional, for the best and for the worst, meaning it can get the best out of me, it can get the worst out of me. What would be a process? And I know probably it's not something you can explain in a few sentences, but you know, at least even high level, what would be a process of befriending your emotions and accepting more them instead of kind of being, you know, volatile and being sometimes just like thrown to the left, to the right?
Make the move. Go paint, go walk, go express, go do something. Go boxing, whatever works for you. But I would make the move because it is an energy that doesn't. You sense you're tense, you're angry, there's energy there, so go get it out.
But then they come back.
They will always come back until you understand why they're there in the first place.
Okay, so when they come up, you do something
to release it.
And then
It's clearer. Because when you're angry, sitting down and writing down, trying to understand yourself, it doesn't really, it's a little bit challenging.
Right. But you have to sit down after.
Sit down or walk or just think about it. You have the way that I usually write. That's my way that works. I like to express in that. That's my mean of expression, but everyone has their own. They could paint and maybe they get to understand it. Some can go see therapists. Some could go see coaches that could help them try to untangle or understand where that comes from to eventually prevent it and eventually just know how to regulate it and manage it.
Okay. And so at the end of the day, emotions are, if I'm kind of formulating it in my own words, are kind of like points of information based on events of life. Like, I'm in traffic right now, this person told me I'm ugly, this happened, they told me I'm beautiful, and just these points of data give us insights about how we think, what we are programmed.
Beautifully said.
God damn, I should be teaching this. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Is there anything we didn't mention today that we should talk about?
No, not anything that comes to mind.
Amazing. You have any questions for me?
How do you feel about all this? Speaking of emotions.
I for sure feel excited. For sure feel motivated and energized. Aligned. I don't know if it's an emotion, but it's a concept.
It's a
right?
sense.
Yeah, it's a sense of alignment and pure like bliss, and like it's not even a question of is this the right thing. It's not even a question, is this gonna work out? Like there is certitude that it will come out the way it's supposed to be and it's gonna be great. No, it is a beautiful, beautiful sensation. You know, I take time every morning and every evening also to just sit and while I do some practices, but also just sit and take whatever I'm feeling, whatever comes to my mind, to take it in. So I would say I'm kind of like, enjoying this feeling and this sense.
I don't know if you've said it anywhere, but you've told me personally, but
What did I tell you?
why are you doing this?
Like why, how?
Like, why Warrior Growth Academy? What's your why? What's your story?
The whole story of that concept?
Like, why are you doing this?
So in short, I think I'll sum it up with the why, more like
That's what I wanna hear. Yeah, that.
size. Okay. But kind of the coming up with the concept. To put very simply, I've been in the field of personal development for over 12 years. And, I've been surrounded by coaches, speakers, in different fields. I've been going to masterminds, to retreats, to conferences, working with, some of the greatest people in the world, also with other online platforms. So at some point, I just simply, and obviously I'm skipping a lot of soul searching and steps, but I realized that personal development is not made accessible for everyone. It is in a way for kind of an elite, meaning that these events, these trainings, these coachings are very expensive. So I realize also in the meantime, talking with friends, with people in the real world, that this is a certain world that not only is not accessible because of the price, but also it feels like it's a long commitment. A lot of the trainings are weeks, hours, months long. And I knew that once you get in the loop, you do want to do the work because you see a certain level of results. You see a momentum that is created. So I believe it is a lifelong journey. But if you tell someone who didn't even take the first step, hey, do you want to take a lifelong journey? It's easier to say, no, where I'm at is okay. But I truly believe that this is, and when I say this, it's really personal development as a whole, like not pinpointing any technique, any way of approaching it. It can be from so many sides. And so I wanted to find kind of a place for people to take a first step. And I check what's available. I check what's online. I kind of also already know from my personal experience. I'm like, God damn it, there's no first stage for, someone who wants to take a first step and not commit a few weeks and not commit a few hundreds or thousands of dollars. So I created it.
Is that something you felt?
In a certain sense, yes. In a certain sense, yes. Like, I felt the despair sometimes, or the feeling of being lost from people that I love. And then on the other side, I felt the need of kind of helping. But then I'm like, I don't want to necessarily be a coach or be a guide per se, but it doesn't mean I cannot come up with a solution. And so, so that would be kind of, in a way, a sense of almost like a duty, because even though I've been in this space, I've always felt that I wasn't meant to be a coach, wasn't meant necessarily to be, a speaker and do just conferences. I love speaking to people. I love talking with people and giving advice. But I'm like, no, I feel there's something more that will kind of come together at some point. So when kind of this idea came together, that's where I felt like the excitement, because the alignment of my entrepreneurial background, the alignment of me also being kind of the connector of different people without me being the front line, without me being, the showman, or it's my business, kind of like Tony Robbins, for example. So I felt just all the pieces really falling into place, because I also said no to some of, ideas and opportunities. So for sure, I felt on one end the need and the duty to bring that solution forward, and also the excitement of what it looks like. And it's crazy because, for many years when I was writing my kind of ideal life and kind of thinking of what an ideal day would look like, literally everything that came into this, and I didn't know the form, right? The definition of that was that work felt like playing, that I was surrounded by incredible people that inspire me and we inspire each other. We have positive impact on the world. So it's very vague. It's not even specific. I've never had an idea of, I want to build an online school or academy. But literally all those ingredients with this concept and with this idea came together. And so this is literally the why. And it's to bring simple solutions, to give at least the open door to this journey to people experiencing common problems.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for asking. Steph, this has been a huge pleasure. For those who are listening, trust me, the class on emotional intelligence by Steph is incredible. This is, for whoever you are in life, this is something, as we've heard and as we know, is literally to every single human being. Emotions are part of this journey on this earth. And on one end, we can be, in a way, a victim of those emotions. And on the other end, we can be in peace with those emotions and live a fulfilling and beautiful life. Make sure to subscribe to not miss any of those wonderful conversations. I'll see you at the next one.